As soon as I met Jane, I knew that she was the one.
When I start uni, I'm gonna...
But there was a little bit of, oh my God, what have I taken on?
I felt like a huge burden. And every day, for years, I would say, why are you with me? Why do you love me? Because I didn't understand why he would take me on as a partner when he became my carer.
I was in hospital.
We were desperate. Jane was definitely broken. She didn't deserve that pain. I don't know what's happening inside your head, but I know that your heart is undamaged and beautiful.
You decided to fix me. You wanted to help me, and it was just so out there, and I did. I was like, what? You want to do what? That is gross. No, thank you. That was my initial response. No. But then I had a few months of thinking about it and realising that I had to try something.
Jane was one of the most unwell people I've ever worked with, and I'm a forensic psychiatrist.
There's something in the top of the mugger.
The change is bordering on miraculous. If I hadn't seen this, I'm not sure I'd believe it.
We haven't really explored East of the Divide together that much.
No.
This is a story that needs to be told. The condition that has been positioned as incurable may potentially be curable.
I think we have a lot of hang-ups about poo, but I think my story proves that you shouldn't poo-poo poo. In a very real way, the number 2s cured my blues. I told Alex that I had bipolar within the first 20 minutes of our chatting online. So I was very upfront about it.
Did you know what that meant?
No, I had no idea.
And you also didn't know what bipolar really meant until you lived.
That's true.
Until you experienced it
But
on
I
a
saw
day-to-day
it.
basis.
And I didn't run away. I ran towards you.
It's really hard to put into words just how much mental illness stole from me. I lost friends, I lost opportunities for normal development. I lost the chance to have a higher education. I lost work opportunities. I lost 18 years of life that I'll never get back.
Jane was the last of 4 children, and they all grew up in Cessnock. Well, Jane was a great kid, actually. She was a terrific kid. Very adventurous.
I was okay at athletics, but you know, see, I would have been disappointed because I come 3rd.
Oh, dear, dear.
You know, I had to be the best.
Super bright, could do anything she put a hand or a mind to. So much came to her so naturally.
Do you remember when I first started kind of getting obsessed with soccer? My whole childhood trajectory was skilling myself to a point where I would one day play for Australia. That was my big dream, and I was well on my way to achieving that. We went on to win the state championships.
Finding the energy for that became hard work, and there was a shift going into puberty.
As a kid, I looked pretty well and happy, and then you get to teenage years, and I think that's when you can start to see kind of the deadness in my eyes. Yeah. I'm just unwell. From about 14 onwards, I had a lot of anxiety issues, but I still felt like I was on this upward trajectory. I just took it for granted that I was going to finish high school with good marks and end up doing a university degree. However, when I was 16, an uncle that I didn't grow up with moved to New South Wales, and that trajectory came crashing down very quickly. He was the cool uncle that let me drink with him and let me smoke marijuana, and that was part of the grooming process to manipulate me and to lower my defences so that he could finally turn our relationship into a sexual relationship. The emotional fallout from the abuse was all-pervading. It broke me on a fundamental level and was definitely the trigger for me developing serious mental illness.
Like most victims do, she took the blame on herself. Low-level depression was there, but that deepened it drastically.
This is when we moved to Newcastle as well. So
And that's when the tonsillitis got worse and the whole depression deepened.
following the abuse, I developed chronic tonsillitis and glandular fever, and as a result, my GP was prescribing antibiotic after antibiotic after antibiotic.
It impacted her life drastically.
She was sick so often she couldn't go to school.
Yeah.
She couldn't complete the HSC at high school.
Yeah.
That man stole my youth and my future, and I lost myself for the next 18 years. It's a hard thing to talk about, but important because this happens to so many people. It's not the abuse, it's the shame and guilt that's followed. My depression fluctuated throughout my 20s, but I did spend vast amounts of time being almost completely non-functional.
I was on suicide watch, looking out for signs that Jane might be going to harm herself. It's pretty scary. You feel totally unequipped to handle that sort of depression.
Yeah. And then the flip.
And the flip.
If I didn't take my medication for 3 days, I would very rapidly move into mania and psychosis and end up in a psych ward. I would sometimes leave my body and travel the multiverse with my alien buddies.
Come in and have a sit down.
Dr. Russell Hinton became my psychiatrist and he diagnosed me with bipolar 1.
Causing those issues. Bipolar 1, that's characterised by severe manic episodes, and then those episodes are usually relatively short in comparison to the much longer, very severe depressions where, you know, not uncommonly people want to kill themselves, they're that depressed.
I started seeing you after this kind of 18 months to 2 year period where I was in and out of public psych wards for being suicidal or manic. It was kind of like up, down, up, down.
Yeah. It's probably one of the worst things that a human being could go through. And no expectations.
He said, Jane, it's incurable. You're going to have to be on medication for the rest of your life. I went from being 61 kilos to 85 kilos in 4 weeks after taking an antipsychotic. So it was like, oh great, I'm mentally ill and obese. I lost count the amount of times that I went into a psych ward. I think it's about 10 or 11 times. For me, a bipolar diagnosis was like a death sentence because I felt like there was no hope. Spending time in nature and working in gardens helped my mental health, and I thought that living and working on a farm would be therapeutic. One day I put on my raincoat and I put my arm in and pulled out a frog. And I thought, this is special, this is rare and endangered, I need to know about this frog. My sister had a friend who was a reptile and frog expert. So I sent him a photo of the frog, and that was Alex.
The woman with a frog will always get my attention. And we chatted till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
My interest in the frog quickly turned into interest in the man.
I've always been really interested in animals. Very early memories of chasing frogs and things in the garden. I don't know what it is about lizards in particular, but They're kind of like my spirit animal. I've been able to turn my passion for wildlife and animals into a career, doing wildlife surveys all over Australia, and I've been lucky enough to work as a ranger. I do a lot of wildlife photography.
Alex lived in this little village 7 hours away on the northwest slopes of New South Wales called Kulutai, where there's like 18 houses and 35 people. And so that weekend I decided to drive the 7 hours through the storms and stepped out of the car and I was like, gosh, she's old. And you were like...
Gosh, she's tall. she was wearing these cowboy boots with big heels. And
then we hugged and it was just like, I'm home. It just felt like I'm home.
I know that we will get through this. I know I will enjoy your love again. I love you, Jane. I'm so grateful for you.
And you, I was waiting, why hasn't he cried yet? What a letdown. I love it when you cry.
Our relationship became the anchor, the reason to stay alive, even though the suffering was still unlivable.
Effectively, Alex became Jane's carer. Alex saw the worst of it, and he did it alone.
Just watching the difficulty that she had, even just getting out of bed. For a long time, if she got out of bed before 11 o'clock in the morning, that was a big win.
Where are we?
In Burrell District Hospital.
And why am I doing
You're manic.
it?
Yeah.
How many can I?
Yeah, pretty manic. And it was only when she went into psychosis that I realised how severe her mental illness was.
I'm a visionary and I have the ability to see through time, past, present and future, with my imagination.
I was on different planets and it felt as real as this.
I am that person who had to be hospitalised because she met some alien guy called Ashtar who just appeared to her in her consciousness.
She was not living. She wasn't living in a way that was sustainable. I never dreamed about being frightened off by this. I was like, how can I help?
You just happened to have a brain that was constantly looking for research.
I'd heard about the gut microbiome, the microorganisms involved in digesting and processing our food, and also transferring all sorts of good feelings to us via the gut-brain axis. A lot of the precursors for dopamine and serotonin are actually produced in the gut. And I knew that Jane's depression was caused by not having access to dopamine and serotonin. And I was like, well, maybe if we fix up the gut, it'll allow those things to reach your brain. I came across the Transferring the Blues study out of Cork University. They got the faeces of a depressed human and put it in a rat, and the rat developed depression. So I thought, if that can be reversed, then that could actually work. After reading that study, I thought maybe a poo transplant could actually take the edge off Jane's depression.
It was gross. Poo transplants, who wants to do that?
That's,
people in extreme circumstances, that's who.
Actually, it should be in the name.
So it shows how desperate we were, that we were willing to try this out there, unproven experimental procedure for my mental illness. Ooh, actually, that's what I want to see.
A faecal microbiota for transplant, or an FMT.
FMT stands for faecal microbiota transplant or transfer, basically a poo transplant.
Your poo?
My poo, in this case, yes. I really should have got tested, but...
We didn't realise at the time how dangerous FMT could be. We do now.
There are genuine and very serious risks involved in do-it-yourself faecal transplants. If I'd had any diseases, Jane was going to get those diseases.
Alex made the FMT as well. I wasn't going to touch his poo. That was his job. Your poo, your job. You take the poo and you put it in the blender. You mix in some saline solution. You whiz it up a little bit. And then head down, bum up. Up the bum, squeeze it in. Initially, of course, I was really grossed out. But once we did it, it was like, is that it? We didn't know if it was going to work. We didn't know the best way to do it. We didn't know how often to do it. We were just, it was a shot in the dark.
I did agree to monitor Jane. It was a little bit of a dilemma because you're stepping outside of any protocol on treating bipolar disorder, that's for sure. But I figured to myself I'd rather be in touch with her and know if there are problems.
Manic, because I have bipolar. Nothing happened for the first 6 FMTs in about 3 months, and then the magic started happening. I started to get out of bed earlier, and I noticed my depression just becoming less and less and less.
Jane just got, I guess, happier. She was happy with who she was. She was more confident.
And then there was this one day that I'll never forget for the rest of my life where I woke up and confused because I was like, what is this feeling? Do I feel good? Is this what feeling good feels like? I remember this one day we were on our friend's farm and I was like, Alex, stop the car. I want to get out and run. I just had a motivation and an urge to run like I used to run as a kid. It felt simultaneously freeing and also like, oh shit, you're out of shape, Jane. You haven't run in 20 years.
And she ran down the driveway in front of me and it was really good.
You see in her demeanour that a cloud had lifted.
She became the person she was meant to be.
The depression was just gone and it's never come back.
Periodically, we'd spoken on the phone, hadn't we?
Yeah.
And you'd let me know how you were going. And every time I saw her or spoke to her on the phone, things were better, mentally and physically.
Did you initially believe it, or?
Oh yeah, I believed it, Jane, but it's always, how can I put it? I'm not impressed at all by short-term improvements. The proof of the pudding's how long will this last? Yeah, then she wanted to go off her meds.
You weaned me off my medications and he was against the idea. And he was right to be cautious because even under his guidance, I had a manic episode and it was a doozy. However, that was the last time that I was manic. That was in September 2017. So I've been free of mania since then and free of all depression since about March 2017. So that's going on 8 years now.
It's kind of hard to overestimate how incredible that is. I actually wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
I'm making this video because I thought it was about time that I started to share my pretty phenomenal story of curing, yes, I'm using the C word, curing my bipolar 1 disorder through a pretty out there experiment with poo.
When I got well, I wanted to shout from the rooftops.
It's called a fecal transplant and it has worked beyond my wildest imagination.
So I joined every single bipolar community, support community on Facebook and Reddit, and I just shared my story on all of them.
Thanks for listening to my story.
The pushback was fast, heated, and quite unpleasant.
Bipolar has nothing to do with the gut microbiome. This is ridiculous. Or you didn't have bipolar in the first place. Or your psychiatrist is a quack. I was like, right, nobody's going to take my story seriously unless we can replicate this and confirm this in clinical trials. One of the first people I reached out to was Professor Felice Jacka at the Food and Mood Centre, which is a part of Deakin University. Felice coined the term nutritional psychiatry. She's a legend.
Hi. God, it's so good to see you. Look, I think there's often these sort of miracle cures touted, but it made sense to me. We have so many poo jokes. We're all quite immune to it. You know, we'll have very deep conversations about poo over lunch.
Nice.
Yeah. Understanding just how important the gut microbiome was in brain health and also in physical health more broadly, it really made sense to me that gut-focused therapies like FMT might have a really important therapeutic role in psychiatry.
Did you doubt that my story was true?
No. Jane's case was literally the inspiration for us conducting the Moving Moods pilot study that turned out to be the world first published results of a randomised controlled study of faecal transplants for depression.
Frozen vegetables. Yes. You know, there were no terrible side effects, no one got sick or anything like that. So that study is absolutely critical in allowing us to apply for funding to do a fully scaled trial.
Thanks for inviting us to your beautiful home.
Jane reached out to me and told her story, and I was incredulous. It's a great opportunity to do a review.
Professor Gordon Parker, he is one of Australia's top psychiatrists. He was the head of psychiatry at the University of New South Wales. He's the founder of the Black Dog Institute, and he's been researching bipolar for 40 years.
Jane's story knocked my socks off. It was a story that caused me to say wow and keep on saying wow for quite a long time. Your story challenges what I've been doing all these years. It was important for me to check the story very carefully with Jane, with Alex, also with her managing psychiatrist.
I just remember at the age of 16 taking at least 10 courses of antibiotics over an 18-month period, and it was during that time that I developed really serious depression. And I now believe that the antibiotics played a huge role in just napalming my gut microbiome and taking out whatever keystone species was necessary for my brain to produce dopamine and serotonin.
I've had 3 people in the last 6 months, and they had late onset bipolar disorder following an antibiotic. The way we've been treating depressive disorders has essentially been by drugs up to now. We're repeating those errors. This is such a paradigm change in terms of how to manage bipolar disorder that it is so unanticipated, so unexpected, and that gives us the opportunity for a completely new approach, focusing on the gut microbiome. I thought that the best way of taking a story forward was to write a book. I needed to investigate the science, so I reached out to Professor Imad El-Omar. He's a highly distinguished gastroenterologist. He edits the #1 gastroenterology journal in the world. He understands the biome.
I heard the story, and I have to say that I was not dismissive because I understand the gut-brain axis and the role of the microbiome in this. By doing this fecal microbiota transplant, they essentially replace the ecosystem in Jane's gut by somebody else's. And in her case, it worked spectacularly. A healthy gut microbiome that is the result of healthy living, healthy diet, and so forth, is fundamental to the way the brain works because it regulates the brain.
When I got well, I was like, okay, well, how do I keep my gut bugs happy? I basically fundamentally changed the way I ate. We cut out the majority of processed foods. I started growing a lot of our own food. I started cooking things from scratch. Predominantly plant-based with a lot of different fibres, a little bit of meat, and some fermented foods. You have to feed the microbes the food that they want.
What we know from about 15 years of research in nutritional psychiatry is that the people who have a diet that is more traditional, whole foods, real foods, and lower in modern foods, ultra-processed foods, tend to have a reduced risk of developing depression in particular.
Jane's story certainly persuaded me as a clinician to now encourage anyone who's got a significant biological mood disorder to focus on their diet.
The ethical dilemma I have about continuing to share my story is that I run the risk of promoting a therapy that is potentially extremely dangerous if the donors are not properly screened.
This is obviously really dangerous. There's a lot of pathogens that can be introduced via stool. There's a lot of antibiotic-resistant genes that can be life-threatening.
There are stories about transferring, for example, obesity or anxiety and so forth. So selection of the donors has to be a scientific approach. It's not just a random one. It's not your friend or your partner, because you have no idea what they might be harboring in their gut.
For doctors and psychiatrists to take it seriously. That's why we need to do a fully scaled trial to see whether it actually works or not.
I'm still contacted regularly from individuals asking me how they can be part of FMT research, and I wish I could tell them that these studies are happening.
The Food and Mood Centre have a trial ready to go. It's been ready for 4 years. They've been trying to get funding unsuccessfully for 4 years.
Are they accepting the research?
So we estimate that the fully powered randomised control trial of faecal transplants for depression would cost up to $10 million. Mental health and suicide cost the Australian economy $70 billion per year. So when you think about it that way, $10 million or less is really a drop in the ocean.
I'm absolutely signed up to the new paradigm, and I encourage all of our colleagues in psychiatry to get interested in this and to drive it forward. Let us do it through clinical trials that are adequately controlled, and then we can try and provide the answers so that it's once and for all established as a treatment.
I am now in a place that I could only have ever dreamed to be in when I was that severely mentally ill woman that I was only 8 years ago.
Liking the lichen.
Jane and I often work together on ecological surveys.
If you look at like scratch marks, if you can see evidence of...
She's doing a university degree. She is doing really well. I'm incredibly proud of her.
Would you think there would be geckos in
Well,
the...
this will get the sun.
I feel like in a very real way that Alex loved me back to life. That's what it feels like.
You're pretty lucky that I like lizards as much as I
I'm
do.
very lucky that you like lizards.
Alex has brought life back to our girl. We'll be forever grateful for that.
I didn't think Jane would have a future like that. So Jane and Alex's wedding was a very special day.
No bouquet for Jane. She had a frog.
I know that everything that happened in my past was worth it. And I'll do it all again. If it meant I would be standing here with you now.
It's so delightful for us to witness the love in her eyes.
It was a wonderful day.
It's just your run-of-the-mill average fairy tale romance, really, you know. Woman meets frog, frog leads woman to man, man and woman fall in love.
And there was no kissing of frogs.
No kissing of frogs. Man cures woman's incurable mental illness with his magic poo, thus breaking the curse. Man and woman live happily ever after. You know, it's cliche.
Yeah.
Said it's only natural how I feel. Sitting at the bus stop killing time, a smile on my face and I'm feeling fine. The Greyhound bus comes into view. Now, honey, I'm coming home to you. I have been so far away. Your love sustained